Welcome, WHMB Channel 40 viewers. This is the Mouthwash Talk Show, a minty fresh take on politics. And we got a special show for you tonight. We have Micah Beckwith. He's actually doing something a little interesting. He's going to run for lieutenant governor. And you're probably wondering, how does somebody run for that? I've never really heard of that. How does that happen? Well, hey, we're going to find out. So let's get to it. But let's do this. We're going to go ahead. Let's play small talk, and then we'll bring him on. Oh, how about that? Well, let's see what Mark Small's got to have. I think he's going to probably make fun of Micah a little bit. We'll see. Here we go. Mark Small, small talk.
Hi, I'm Mark Small, small talk on a very Micah Beckwith is running for lieutenant governor of the state of Indiana, and that's not an independent kind of thing. It has to go to convention, not to the voters. And he used to give like his talks in his car. I think he's got a bumper sticker that says "God is my co-pilot." I wouldn't be surprised. I'm not going to be that presumptuous. But he says he's a constitutionalist, and he believes that this country is founded on Christian values, and also he believes in original intent of the framers. Okay, first of all, what's a constitutionalist? We have constitutions, national and state. And one of the first rules of interpreting the Constitution is to look at the actual words. The words God and Jesus Christ do not occur in the Constitution. So where does he get that notion? Also, people, when they're saying we need to look at the original intent of the framers, ignore the fact that the framers said don't look to us for intent. They also want to ignore the fact that the framers put a provision in there, amendments that would allow the Constitution to change as the country changed. And some really important changes occurred in 1865. Those had to do primarily with slavery. The southern states withdrew from the Union because they wanted to preserve the institution of slavery. And for you Republicans out there, the Republican Party was started to stop the spread of slavery and actually is abolitionists in a lot of ways. So what do we have? They're saying, forget about slavery. That's long over, it's past history. At the same time as they're saying, look to the framers for their intent. And it's all bunk. The Christian values, general values about religion, people have their religious beliefs in this country. We have a freedom to believe as we wish. But there's a separation of church and state so that people like Micah Beckwith can't tell you what to believe. And See, I'm in the passenger seat. I guess God's not my co-pilot. And somebody just flunked the field sobriety test. I got to get home. I'll drive. I'm sober. Take care. Peace.
My God. So you're driving now, huh? Okay.
Yeah. So I just got done with a Project Rescue fundraiser. We at our church help raise money to set women and children free from sex slavery across the world, and so we've raised hundreds of thousands of dollars over the last few years. And so that was a big fundraiser we put on tonight to kick off kind of our season for supporting a bunch of great work that Project Rescue is doing across the country and across the world. So what I would ask Mark Small is Mark, who gets to decide what's right and wrong then? If we're not a nation on Christian values, what values would you say we should be built on? And you can't have a nation without a value system in your nation. And so I know the Republican Party, and Mark was right when he said the Republican Party was established to root out slavery. Well, that's a biblical foundation. God is not the author of slavery. He's the author of freedom. And so I would ask, if we want to kick out the biblical foundations like he's trying to say with separation of church and state, which, by the way, was never intended by our founders. Our founders did not say anything anywhere in the Constitution about separation of church and state. They only said that the state can't tell the church what to do. They never said that the church shouldn't be the conscience of the state. They always believed that should be the case. And so anyway, all that to say, what value system are we going to have as a people? And that's the question I always pose to people who say, we don't want to be a Christian nation or a nation of Christian values, and say, okay, well, what are you going to replace it with? Well, we don't have to have religion. No, somebody's religion is going to replace it. Your religion is your belief system. So anyway, that's my soapbox to respond to Mark Small. So.
Yeah, nothing like coming in hot on the show. So let's back it up just one or two notches here. Let's introduce yourself, and you already told us a little bit about yourself. So just say and introduce yourself and tell our viewers what the heck you doing on the Mouthwash show tonight.
Yeah, well, hey, it's good to be with you always. I love the Mouthwash audience and the show. My name's Micah Beckwith. I'm a pastor. I'm a political activist. I'm an all-around just pretty decent guy, depending on who you ask. But no, I would say that I've just got a heart for truth. I want to see people know the truth. I really believe that if you know the truth, you'll be set free. And so we got to find out what the truth is, and then we got to proclaim the truth. And that's just what I do. So I don't really see anything of what I do as political or non-political. I just say, hey, let's find the truth collectively, and I believe that'll be good. It'll go well for all of us. And so what I'm doing, though, I'm running for lieutenant governor in the great state of Indiana. And so I made that announcement 2 weeks ago, and it's been going great. We're already getting all over the state, and people are excited and intrigued, because you don't typically run for lieutenant governor in Indiana. So we can get into that more. But yeah, it's going really well. And I think I can bring a check and balance and a voice that will fight for truth in that executive branch that we really haven't had for the last 4 to 8 years here in Indiana.
But let me back up 2 more notches on this. My lovely wife, Lisa, asked, where are the girls tonight? Well, I don't know where Tiffany is, but Lucy, her dad has had surgery today. So she's, I'm assuming everything went well. And so she's attending to some family matters. I think, July 4th, this movie called Freedom is coming out with Caviezel.
Yeah.
I think that there's something inside, something's brewing, that I think that there finally may be this pedophilia, this sex trafficking thing may get enough traction to actually have some progress, because I just think it's something that's swept under the rug. People are uncomfortable talking about it, and it's there. I mean, it can't be ignored, but it is ignored. So what's your thought? What's the Spirit telling you, preacher?
Well, I think ultimately what the Holy Spirit is saying is he's saying, set my people free. I mean, it's the same thing he told Moses. Moses, set my people free. And Moses went and told Pharaoh, let my people go, is what God is saying. And so, again, God is a God of freedom and liberty. He's not a God of slavery. And so we are, just because America has dealt with the issue of slavery and rooted that scourge out of our society, doesn't mean slavery doesn't still exist in the world. And actually, studies have shown that there's more slaves now currently in this time in history than there have been in any other time in history throughout world history. And so we've got a lot of work to do. But I hope you're right, John, that people are waking up to it and they're talking about it. I love what Jim Caviezel is doing with the Sound of Freedom. I think it's going to be an amazing movie. July 4th is when it comes out. I know he wants people to go out and buy tickets early, because Hollywood is trying to stop this film from existing. They don't want this film out. They don't like again, it's biblical truth that's being spoken, and they don't like that. And so if you can help Jim by going out and buying tickets early, that will give him more cred as they're trying to get this into more theaters. So that's what we're doing at our church. We're trying to buy up tickets and get people to go buy tickets early, so that on July 4th, they have a great showing. And so anyway, all that to say, I hope and pray that things like pedophilia and sex trafficking would end today. Like it's so wicked and evil and cruel what people can do to other people, women and children specifically, and it makes my blood boil when I see this, and it's heartbreaking. You just want to go in and rescue every person that you see in these environments, but we can't do it alone. We got to do it collectively. We've got to, as a culture, say this is enough's enough, and you shall not pass, and you're not going to go any further with this wickedness in our world. So I hope that's what happens. I hope that's what comes to be, John.
Yeah, well, and it's a worldwide issue. This isn't just us, and you can compare it to climate change. It's everybody's thing. It's not just us or you drive. You're out there putting more carbon dioxide in the air driving your car right now, Micah. You're just a terrible person. All right, we're gonna shift gears here. I think Jordan's got some political, because this is a political talk show, by the way. We talk about politics sometimes, and Jordan's gonna ask you some questions about this lieutenant governor deal. Jordan, go ahead.
Yeah, I got some good questions for you about the lieutenant governor role. All right, so obviously we heard what Mark Small had to say about his idea on the First Amendment. My question is to you, Micah, being in the lieutenant governor role, our lieutenant governor, first of all, is probably the most active lieutenant governor throughout the whole entire nation. They have a lot of power that's underneath their hands, particularly in sectors and industries that are the vital arteries to the Hoosier economy. My question is to you, as a Republican like myself, where do you see the middle of the road to where you can leave your personal beliefs at the door and be able to lead with an economic conservative value viewpoint when stepping into that state house when you win the election? Hopefully you will win. What will you do to safeguard our liberties, whether if we have difference of religion or if we do have the same religion? How would you help those Hoosiers who may not be religious or may be atheists? How would you offer them an olive branch so that they don't see you as one-sided but fair to all Hoosiers?
Yeah, that's a good question, Jordan. I appreciate it. So first and foremost, I always tell everyone, just because I'm a Christian doesn't mean that, politically speaking, the government has any right to tell you have to be a Christian or not a Christian, and vice versa. So I'm not running to proselytize anybody. I'm running to protect the liberties of people to be able to make their own choice. As a pastor and a follower of Jesus, I can't leave that at the door. I'm never gonna. My identity is in who I am in Christ, so I'm not going to be able to check it at the door. I'm going to tell everyone, hey, there's a God in heaven. He's got a purpose for you. He loves you. He's made a way for you. And I would be remiss if I didn't say that to people. But in the United States of America, we built our nation on biblical principles like liberty so that everyone can have the right to worship however they want to worship. So Christian principles give you the freedom to reject Christianity as an individual. That it's not like, we'll just use, I mentioned Sharia law and Islam. It's not like that. If you reject Sharia law or Allah in certain Islamic nations, you'll be killed. That's not what the Christian religion says. The Christian religion says, no, every person has to have the liberty to come and accept Christ on their own, not being forced into it. And so that's what I want America to be, is just a place where people can seek out truth. They can know the truth. But here's what's happening right now in our culture. Our culture is suppressing truth, and it's coming from the left. The left has, you've seen it with Twitter censorships, you've seen it with Facebook, you've seen it with YouTube, with the media. I mean, they, like, even Indianapolis media is censoring the truth in so many different ways. And so I would say we've got to get to a place where truth can just be free to be spoken. And here's the beauty about truth. Truth is not, truth does not need you to defend it. It's like a lion. All you have to do is set it free, and it will defend itself. And I don't care if I'm wrong on an issue. I want the truth to be out there so that I know I'm wrong on it, and I can then change to align with truth. So let's find truth. And I'm not perfect, but nobody's perfect. And so I would just say we got to find truth and come to that place collectively. So as Lieutenant Governor, I'm going to fight for people's liberties to make their own choices. And I did that over the last 2.5 years with the COVID vaccine mandates. I stood up for over 4,000 Hoosiers who said, they reached out to me and said, Pastor Micah, I'm getting forced to take this vaccine against my will, and I don't want to take it. I don't think it's necessary. I don't think it's going to be good for my body. Would you help me defend my liberties? And we've written over 4,000 religious exemptions for people to stand up for their own choice, their own liberty. And I don't have a personal opinion in one way or the other on vaccines or no vaccine. I'm not an anti-vaxxer, but I do think it's wrong when the government or someone forces someone into a situation they don't want to be in. And I defended people, but on both sides of the aisle. There were leftists and rightists and liberals and conservatives, and I mean, I love defending liberty for people. So hopefully that answers your question, Jordan. I'm not running to proselytize the nation. I'm running so that we can be free to accept the truth on our own terms, and that's why I'm doing what I'm doing.
No, and I appreciate that answer. I think that's an awesome response. Kind of to give you a little bit idea into my thought process, I'm looking at who you may be matched up with as a governor pick. And so we have to have a really strong, cohesive Republican team that can handle that great diversity that we have in the state. We may be able to have the first woman governor. And it'd be great to have somebody in the lieutenant governor role that can be in a very supporting role. So my question was more geared towards how would you be able to use your faith to hold us together in a time where it's very easy to gnash our teeth because people get the definition of gnashing teeth very wrong. They hear it in the Bible and they think it's about religion. It's really about just being irritated and irate with someone and constantly going at it. So finding that good balance to give us some type of decorum to where we can keep moving Hoosiers forward.
Yeah, that's good. And I look forward to working with any of the candidates that are running right now on the Republican side. I actually have a friendship with all of them, and I think they all have a lot of strengths that they bring. So to your point about let's just take Suzanne Crouch. I really values and personal values. I think she's going to have to get out from underneath the Holcomb shadow. That's going to be kind of her test. Can she do that? But if it was Suzanne, I think I would back her up really well on a plethora of issues. She's one of the hardest workers in politics that I know. She has a great vision for agriculture. She's worked really hard to help get rural communities the resources they need to be able to be prosperous and economically to thrive. And so that's just one example with the Suzanne. I think I'd work really well with someone like that. But then, I could say the same about Mike Braun and Eric Doden and Jamie Rittenauer and there's rumors that Curtis is going to get into Curtis Hill and all of these people I've worked with enough to kind of know their strengths and weaknesses. And I think I would be set up really well to be able to say, hey, I can come in and really be a force to help push the agenda down the road, but also, and this is why I'm running, like primarily to be a check and balance.
I assume you're at your house now, or either that or you're driving with no hands. Is that what we got going on here? Because I got to go.
Or I have a Tesla and I just put it in auto. I don't have a Tesla actually, but I'm close to my house. I pulled into a well-lit gas station.
Let's do it. Let's talk about another thing that the lieutenant governor does. The lieutenant governor sort of operates the Senate, right?
Yeah.
Are you familiar with that?
Oh, 100%. Right. One of the big reasons why I jumped into this race, as I've watched the last 2 to 3 sessions play out here in Indiana, the House has actually been doing some pretty good things, but they send bills over to the Senate, and the Senate is kind of where conservative bills go to die right now. And there's not a lot of backbone, there's not a lot of courage in the Senate, and I think I could help bring that to the Senate. I could take arrows in the media. I mean, I'm good at that. I get blasted in the media quite a bit, and I'm fine with that. I could be that buffer that could stand between them and the firing squads of the left and the media and let them do the job that I think a lot of them do want to do. I think a lot of them have strong conservative values. They just get a little scared sometimes. President of the Senate is a really important role of the Indiana lieutenant governor. I look forward to stepping into that battle and being a backbone.
Yeah, let me back up a little bit on this, because I think this is a genius move myself, because this is something that nobody runs for this. You don't announce that you're going to run for this. This is something that you do back channels. The party sort of grooms you up to that. I mean, Suzanne Crouch didn't just plop out of the sky like a Martian. She, they found her and she worked her way up to this stuff for different things. So how did you come up with this idea? I mean,
well, it's to your point. I just started thinking, why is this an anointing? Why is this not picked by the people? I don't like it in either party, especially in the Republican Party, when the power brokers tell us, the people, who should be in power. Like, that has always driven me crazy, and I fight that every time. I do not want somebody telling the people they don't have a right to choose who is elected in the offices that are designed to represent the people. So the lieutenant governor's office, for the last 35 roughly years, has just been an anointing by the gubernatorial candidate who wins the primary. But the governor candidate, most people don't realize this, does not have the power to pick lieutenant governor. What he does is he signals to the delegates at the convention who to pick. And the delegates just for the last 35 years have said, okay, Mr. Governor candidate or Miss Governor candidate, we're going to pick whoever you tell us to pick. I don't like that. The people need to choose who's best in their opinion. And so the delegates represent the base of the party, and they need to have a voice. And they pick the attorney general candidate, the treasurer candidate, the secretary of state candidate, and the auditor candidate as well. But for some reason, the other office that they have a right to vote on, they're not allowed to, quote unquote, pick it. And so I'm saying it should be your voice. So I'm running to give the delegates a voice, and it's their choice.
How much did it, because we had some upsets at the state delegate, the party picks, they didn't do so well, and so did that sort of give you a little more opportunity, or maybe a way to get in there?
Yes and no. I mean, I've been a delegate since 2016 every year. So it's every 2 years we have a convention. So 16, 18, 20, and 22. And in 22, you're right. Some of the establishment picks, they didn't win. So Diego Morales won, and he was certainly not the establishment's pick. Daniel Elliott won, and he was up against Elise. And I would say Elise is not necessarily establishment per se, but certainly Daniel was kind of the outsider as well, and maybe the conservative. So that played out well in 2022, and I think that's good and bad for me right now, because it means that the base of the party is saying we are very conservative. We want people who are going to hold true to conservative and constitutional values. But that also means that the establishment's going to come out swinging in 2024. They're not going to sit idly by and just go home.
What's the chances of one of these governor candidates, after they get out of the primary, picking you?
I would take that as a very high compliment, but I would still say, hey, give it to the delegates. I would tell the delegates the same thing.
It might hurt you. You might lose a few votes. It's like, hey, this is a new strategy how to get rid of Micah. Let's endorse him.
That's right. That's right.
I'm coming at all the angles here for you. So, okay, yeah. Jordan, go ahead, Jordan. This is sort of fun. I get to be one of the panelists tonight because we don't have any. So,
I think my biggest thing is it's like there needs to be some type of reform on our rights and traditions in the party. It is so outdated. And I guess that's kind of a good thing for us as party members, is that it's kind of good to when you get to this point where we can have a healthy conversation about what are we right now, who do we want to be, and what are our bigger core values now in this present time. It's always good to look back to the past to give us some guidance for the present, but we should still be mapping a course towards the future. So I agree 100% with you. I think, if you were at the last convention, you saw how it was. To me, it was a very disarray of disrespect to the voters' voice. And so I think that would be a good show to have the voters fully be a part of the process. We have a right to be able to cast our vote for all of those offices, including the lieutenant governor. That should not just be some type of regalia that's given to the chosen person for governor to handpick that person. I mean, we've seen what happened if you pick someone wrong for positions like this, and particularly when you have coffers full of money. And so I 100% like that, Micah, that you're willing for the voters to, cast their vote first for me instead of being picked by the establishment. Love that.
One of the things that does happen, delegates can be appointed, I believe. Is that correct? So the ones that aren't full, the party chairs can appoint these delegates. So if we have, and I know earlier we had on here before you got on, Micah, somebody had posted, there's Steve Whitmer, one of our loyal video viewers. YouTube's got a way to do it. Just click on that link there. You can run for state delegate. And the way it works is, and then Spiro used an example of every township, at least in Marion County, has a different. So they'll have 17 positions in Lawrence Township with 45 people run. All you got to do is be the, top 17.
My first year, 2016, when I ran for delegate, it's easy. You go down to your county courthouse and you go into the elections office in the clerk's area there, and you say, hey, I'd like to run for delegate in the Republican Party. And they'll give you a form. They'll fill it. You'll fill it out. It's pretty easy. It takes a few minutes. And then you give it back to them. And then you're on the ballot in May of 2024. So my first year when I did that in January, I signed up. I had completely forgot that I signed up to run for delegate. Like the primary comes and I get a text message from one of my buddies, and he was like, hey man, I just got the vote for you. Like, I love that you were on the ballot. Like, good luck. And I'm thinking to myself, what the heck is this guy talking about? Like, I'm not on the ballot. And I wrote back, I said, what? I didn't run for any office. He said, well, you're on the ballot, man. And I said, for what? He said, something about like a delegate or something. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I had forgotten. Well, I ended up, without telling anybody that I was running, I ended up taking third, which there were 9 delegate spots that were up for grabs. So just my name, ID in the town at the time, and then also it does help if your last name starts with an A, B, C, or D, right? Like,
people don't understand that is a big deal. I mean, it's like
so Jordan, you're probably okay, but John, I don't know, man. It's gonna be hard.
I'm gonna use that as the excuse why I never win any. Now, if you do sign up and you don't see your name on the ballot in May, you won. Because there's not enough people out there. So that's how it is in Wayne Township. Anybody that's in Wayne Township right now, you sign a delegate, you're going to win, pay $100. I'll see you at the convention.
That's because each area has a certain amount of delegates. And if, like in my area, we have 9 delegate spots, if there only 8 people sign up, they don't even put you on the ballot. It's just like you said, John, everybody wins. So just by signing up, you might even win your first election. That's pretty awesome.
So I'm going to go ahead and put up a picture. I took a picture when I was at the convention. Let's see if I can put it up there. There you go. There's what the convention looks like. Look at that. That looks like Tara Klutz up there talking, and she is our auditor, state auditor. And as I would like to say, sorry about that. That's like watching paint dry. But hey, you want to be auditor, go for it. I mean,
she's good. She's awesome. She's one of the good guys for sure. They just changed the title of that position now. It's no longer going to be called the Indiana State Auditor. It's going to be the Comptroller.
Well, Micah, we've appreciated you coming on, but before we let you go here, we need to talk about this Jesus, Sex, and Politics show that you do. I actually heard some advertising on the IBC. I heard you guys advertising on there. You guys must be getting, and I've been on the show, and it was spectacular. You and Nathan do a great job on there. I can't wait to be invited back again someday.
Well, we'd love to have you back, and you too, Jordan, if you ever want to be on. We just love talking about life, and we talk about politics, but really we talk about the philosophy of just worldview. So just the idea of, hey, what are you made for? Do you think there's a bigger calling in your life? Have you ever felt empty? Do you ever feel like there's got to be something more? Well, we know we have the answer, and we can point you to who he is, and his name is Christ. And so we talk about all those things. So we always say that we named the podcast Jesus, Sex, and Politics because it's the 3 most important things in life in the right order.
Doggone it, we're out of time. But if you want to catch the whole show, you can catch us on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook at Mouthwash. And you can watch the entire show. You can see all my bloopers and everything else because I edited it down to be nice and slick for you tonight on Channel 40. But we appreciate you watching tonight, and we'll be back again next week. Yeah!